Good morning, guys. Today I'm going to discuss about how to work with the control as and scope. Basically, the difference between the control as and scope. So both work as a similar way. So only the difference is very few. I'm going to explain the difference between control as and the scope. So so control as and the scope both working as a same way, and it was we are getting the expected output is the same, but only the difference are the controller as is released in the new version, that is 1.2.0, but when I coming to the scope object is released in the old versions is when the since initial version of the AngularJS is released. And one more thing is we can use the both techniques, so both works in the similar way, but only the difference I can say is control as syntax makes code more readable. So suppose if you want to work with the nested scopes, then instead of using a scope object, you can use that control as an alias to your code, so you can easily read your code. So let me go to an example. Just I remove the scope object and I use the this keyword. This is example for control as syntax. So you can go to HTML page. There, this is a controller as can provide an alias name. So here I'm using control as syntax. So I can access the properties of the controller using alias name. So property name accessed by the alias name. So similarly, you can access remaining controls as well. So this will be code will be very readable. But when coming to the scope object, and if you want to work with the nested scopes like this, so it'll be difficult to find out the which is the parent element, which is a parent to parent element. So in order to read the code very useful manner, then you can use the contrast syntax. That is one of the difference. But both work as expected as the same output. Next one, as I said, if you want to use a controller as, then we can no need to inject the scope object, that is in script file. So if you want to work as a contrast syntax, no need to inject the scope object here inside the controller function. Just we can remove the scope object and provide this keyword. That is one of the difference. And you can use either controllers and you can use either like a scope object. So either of that gives the same output. The main thing is I can say if suppose if you use a control as syntax, so internally or behind the scenes, Angular is still using a scope object. So what happened is if you use a control as, Angular takes the controller instance and adds to a reference on the scope object. Suppose take an example of this. So here I'm using controller as a syntax. So I provided as a alias name. So I used to access the members of the controller using the alias name. So here behind the scenes, it will add the reference of the controller properties to a scope object. There is a difference between scope and control as. Thank you.